Chapter 161. Visualization. Boom. The thunderstorm cloud spat out more lightning. Seeing this, Yi Zan could not help but narrow his eyes. Right below the thunderstorm cloud, there was a pool. Rather than calling it a pool, it was more like a lake. However, unlike an ordinary lake, the surface of the lake was crackling with heavenly lightning. The lightning bolts that fell from the thunderstorm cloud all landed in this lake. This was the heavenly lightning pool. Boom. The flashes of lightning, and rumble of thunder, was unceasing. Low-level cultivators would probably suffer injuries from the sound of thunder alone. The faces of Zhao Yuyan, Yu, and Huang Ling paled. This was not ordinary lightning. These lightning bolts contained the power to injure a core formation stage expert. If all of the lightning contained within the thunderstorm cloud were to erupt at once, even a Unity Realm expert might not be able to survive. After all, the lightning contained extremely terrifying destructive power, which could wreak havoc on even the divine elements within a Unity Realm expert's body. Only such a place could increase a cultivator's chances of comprehending the embryonic form of the heavenly lightning intent. There were only 10 supreme intents in the world, and these supreme intents also corresponded to the incomparably terrifying supreme laws. Among the supreme intents, the heavenly lightning intent was known for its destructive power. As Yi Zan gradually approached the heavenly lightning pool, the number of cultivators in his field of vision was as numerous as sand on the beach. By his estimation, the number of cultivators here probably exceeded 200,000. Moreover, everyone here was an expert. Top-notch core formation realm experts were only considered ordinary cultivators here. These core formation realm cultivators were basically all from the Nanzhou region, but there were also very few who came from other regions. Even Unity Realm experts were not rare here. Yi Zan's spiritual sense had detected at least 30 of them. These supreme experts did not have much interest in the heavenly treasures of the mystic realm. Instead, they preferred to use the heavenly lightning pool to try to comprehend this supreme intent. Of course, there were also some experts who wanted to search for heavenly treasures in the mystic realm, such as the Buddha spirit fruit and Dream Nebula spirit fruit. With such spiritual items, they would be able to use the epiphany to increase their probability of comprehending the embryonic form of the heavenly lightning intent. However, such treasures were rare, and finding one was dependent on one's luck. Moreover, even a rare heavenly treasure like that would not help if you had insufficient comprehension value. Yi Zan had already scanned the crowd and found that most of their comprehension values were lacking. After Yi Zan scanned the cultivators, he found that the one with the highest comprehension value had barely surpassed 300 points. Of course, there were too many cultivators here, so Yi Zan could not check them one by one. There might be experts with higher comprehension value. Yi Zan's arrival did not attract too much attention. Everyone was focused on trying to comprehend the heavenly lightning intent. At the heavenly lightning pool, peaceful comprehension seemed to be the common consensus. There were no cultivators here to cause trouble. After all, that would easily interfere with the comprehension of other cultivators. When that happened, they would become everyone's enemies and be attacked by the crowd. Yi Zan was naturally happy about this. Then, Yi Zan raised his head and looked at the thunderstorm cloud in the sky. Suddenly, he saw an illusion. Why did it feel like a hole had appeared in the sky? The destructive power of the heavenly lightning intent is indeed terrifying. It can actually affect the perception of a Unity Realm expert. Yi Zan could not help but squint his eyes. Then, he brought Zhao Yuyan, Yu and Huang Ling to cultivate. They could choose to cultivate their own techniques, or they could try to comprehend the heavenly lightning concept here. Yu and the others were also clear that they should not disturb Yi Zan during this time. Then, they obediently sat down and started cultivating. Zhao Yuyan imitated Yi Zan's posture and sat cross-legged, trying to cultivate. This little girl's comprehension value was even higher than Yi Zan's, but she did not think about comprehending the heavenly lightning intent. Instead, she focused on comprehending the cultivation methods and martial techniques that Yi Zan had previously taught her. After Yi Zan started cultivating, the power in his dantian swept out and slowly refined the Dream Nebula spirit fruit. Then, he carefully comprehended the power of lightning contained in the heavenly lightning pool. The power of lightning was the strongest at the center of the heavenly lightning pool. Huang Ling did not choose to comprehend the heavenly lightning intent either. After all, she had not even started to comprehend the embryonic form of her own sword intent. Something like a supreme intent was beyond her. She carefully studied the aura concealing technique and windstorm slash that Yi Zan had previously taught her. Beside her, Yu tried to comprehend the power of lightning contained within the heavenly lightning pool, but after some trial and error, she found that she had gained nothing. In fact, this was very normal. Although Yu's comprehension value had increased, it had not even reached 300 points, so how could she comprehend the embryonic form of the heavenly lightning intent? Of course, compared to the cultivators of the Great Qian dynasty, Yu was already extremely outstanding. After learning that she could not comprehend the power of lightning, Yu focused on studying the techniques that Yizan had previously taught her. At the same time, she stabilized her own cultivation foundation. With Yizan's help, she had broken through very quickly, which resulted in a marginal loss of her ability to control her strength, which was currently around 92%. Therefore, Yu needed to spend some time stabilizing her own cultivation foundation properly in order to increase the degree of control over her own power. Just like that, time slowly passed, and the number of cultivators gathered around the heavenly lightning pool gradually increased. Rumble. The thunderstorm cloud would continuously emit lightning bolts containing terrifying destructive force, which struck the heavenly lightning pool. The moment when these lightning bolts struck the heavenly lightning pool was the moment when the heavenly lightning intent manifested. Every cultivator tried to seize this moment. However, it was too brief and too complex, causing them to be unable to comprehend anything. They felt that there was an insurmountable chasm between them and the heavenly lightning intent, and a fog that kept them from sensing the intent clearly. Due to this, they could neither cross the chasm nor clear the fog. Chapter 162, Fluctuations. Of course, there were also some cultivators who gained some enlightenment. The moment the lightning bolt fell onto the heavenly lightning pool, these people seemed to have comprehended some kind of magical power. However, when they tried to grasp it, they discovered that that magical feeling of comprehension had disappeared completely, almost as if the magical power had also suddenly disappeared. The feeling of being on the edge of grasping something was even more frustrating than those who had not been able to comprehend anything at all. A day quickly passed, which meant that 6 days had passed since the opening of the mystic realm. During this time, Yizan had been sitting cross-legged and motionless in front of the heavenly lightning pool. Beside him, Yu and Huangling were also cultivating diligently. Only Zhao Yuyan had stopped cultivating. This little girl had already finished comprehending all 3 martial techniques. Although they were all martial techniques below black rank, the fact that she was able to comprehend all of them within a day was enough to show how terrifying her comprehension value was. However, there was another reason why she had stopped cultivating, which was that she was hungry and her stomach was growling. Seeing that her teacher and senior sister were both cultivating, Zhao Yuyan rested her chin on her hands and slowly examined the faces of her teacher and senior sister. As she could not resist the pangs of hunger, she quietly left. Only when the little girl arrived at a secluded place did she take out a few spirit fruits from her storage bracelet to satisfy her hunger. After looking at her surroundings, Zhao Yuyan could not help but reminisce. Her previous self would never have had the chance to interact with so many cultivators. Moreover, when others heard her arrive, they would actively seek to avoid her. However, her special constitution no longer influenced or affected others. No one had scolded or cursed her for being a jinx for some time now, which felt unnatural, but in a good way. The reason why she was able to enjoy this feeling was because she met her teacher. As she thought about this, Zhao Yuyan quietly walked in front of her teacher and stared at his face. She wanted to imprint his face into her heart, lest she forget what he looked like after she left the mystic realm. After doing all this, Zhao Yuyan slowly started cultivating, trying to comprehend the higher-grade martial techniques that her teacher had previously taught her. There were less than 2 days left until the mystic realm closed. Tomorrow, the greatest opportunity in the mystic realm would appear. The War God Hall. At that time, all of the cultivators in the mystic realm would be instantly transported to the War God Hall. Therefore, today was the last chance for the cultivators to comprehend the heavenly lightning intent. If they failed, they would have to wait until the next time the mystic realm opened. Many cultivators had already given up, including the powerhouses who were randomly teleported to the heavenly lightning pool in the beginning. They had been here for more than 6 days, and had ignored the prospects of finding heavenly treasures for this vague glimmer of hope. However, they had failed to comprehend anything. It had all been for naught. At the very least, they now understood how difficult it was to comprehend a supreme intent. It was no wonder that despite the mystic realm having been around for tens of thousands of years, no cultivator had ever been able to comprehend the embryonic form of the heavenly lightning intent. Of course, this also had something to do with the short duration in which the mystic realm was open. In addition, although cultivators could enter the same mystic realm 3 times, they would be repelled by the power of the mystic realm on their 4th attempt. Even Unity realm experts were no exception to this rule. If there was no limit to the number of times one could enter, perhaps there would already be cultivators who had comprehended the embryonic form of the heavenly lightning intent. Over the past tens of thousands of years, countless cultivators had already entered the mystic realm 3 times, and many of them had tried their luck here, including peerless geniuses. Unfortunately, even these geniuses did not gain anything. I'm afraid that we have to return empty-handed this time. As expected of the legendary supreme intent, the degree of difficulty in comprehending it is akin to ascending to the heavens. Throughout our Nanzhou region, there are many peerless geniuses who have already comprehended fist intent, sword intent, and so on. But even so, none have succeeded when it came to comprehending the heavenly lightning intent. I'm afraid that only the legendary Holy Land's Holy Child or the Divine Empire's Divine Son can comprehend it. I think so too. There are records in the ancient books that in the ancient times, there were peerless geniuses with monstrous talent who had indeed comprehended a supreme intent. However, such a genius would never appear within our Nanzhou region. That's right. The cultivators who had given up started discussing among themselves. Some of them were super geniuses from the Nanzhou region who had been previously confident about their chances, wanting to break the record to become the first person in the mystic realm to comprehend the heavenly lightning intent. However, their confidence was unfounded, and they could only face the cruel reality of it all. Boom! Extremely mysterious fluctuations rippled out from the center of the heavenly lightning pool, shattering the quiet and calm atmosphere here. When everyone saw this, their pupils could not help but shrink abruptly. Their eyes were filled with disbelief. How is this possible? Someone actually comprehended the embryonic form of the heavenly lightning intent. Who was it? 1. These fluctuations were exactly the same as the thunderstorm cloud in the sky that was emitting the lightning bolts. Some cultivators who were still trying to comprehend the heavenly lightning intent immediately opened their eyes. Their spiritual sense swept out as they tried to locate the source of these fluctuations. Chapter 163. Using the power of lightning to temper one's body. Everyone soon found the source. It was Yi Zan's group. The mysterious fluctuations had been emitted by someone from this group, but who? Seeing this, everyone looked carefully, and then their eyes fell on Yi Zan at the same time. It's him. It's this guy who managed to comprehend the embryonic form of the heavenly lightning intent. This is impossible. How could something like this be achieved by a cultivator from the Nanzhou region? It's been tens of thousands of years, and now there's finally a person who managed to comprehend the embryonic form of the heavenly lightning intent inside this mystic realm. This guy looks so young. Which faction's peerless prodigy is he from? Do you recognize this young man? Who is he? Is he from the Divine Sect, the Nether God Sect, or the Blood Moon Divine Hall? Or is he from a hidden faction? Could he be from another region? Such a peerless genius might not be from our Nanzhou region. Everyone present was shocked. As cultivators who were trying to achieve this very thing, they knew how difficult it was. At this moment, the heavenly lightning pool was in a state of complete chaos. Those cultivators did not have the mood to continue their comprehension efforts. Boom! At this moment, another mysterious wave of power swept out from Yi Zan like ripples. As it passed through the surrounding cultivators, they felt a slight jolt of lightning power pass through their bodies, making crackling sounds. Whoosh! At the same time, Yi Zan, who was sitting cross-legged, suddenly opened his eyes. A tinge of purple lightning flashed across his eyes. Moments later, Yi Zan's body rose into the air and turned into a streak of light that rushed into the thunderstorm cloud in the sky. What is this guy doing? Seeing this, everyone was shocked once again. When the Unity Realm experts present saw this scene, their gazes turned extremely solemn. The size of the thunderstorm cloud exceeded 200 kilometers. Its center was where the power of lightning was the most concentrated. Even a Unity realm would be reduced to ashes in an instant if they were struck by the power of lightning there. However, they could all see this guy head straight for the center of the thunderstorm. Was this guy crazy? Under normal circumstances, Yi Zan was definitely unable to resist the terrifying power of lightning contained within the thunderstorm cloud, but it was different now. He had already comprehended the embryonic form of the heavenly lightning intent, and it had fused with his dantian. Although it was only a minuscule amount, it could already allow him to assimilate the power of lightning. In other words, no matter how terrifying the power of lightning at the center of the thunderstorm was, it would not take the initiative to harm him. Rumble. The moment Yi Zan entered the thunderstorm cloud, space suddenly trembled as the thunderstorm cloud spat out a lightning bolt that was as thick as a person's body. When everyone saw this scene, their eyes twitched. Yi Zan hovered in midair and suddenly opened his hands, attracting the lightning bolts like a lightning rod. What is this guy doing? Is he crazy? The power of lightning contains extremely powerful destructive power. Won't he get hurt? The power of lightning probably regards him as its own kind. This guy has already comprehended the embryonic form of the heavenly lightning intent. Everyone's eyes were filled with shock, jealousy, envy, and other emotions. However, no matter what, they could be said to have witnessed the rise of a peerless genius. Rumble. The lightning bolts suddenly coiled themselves around Yi Zan. At this moment, Yi Zan was like a god of thunder, equals receiving the baptism of the giant lightning bolts. Not enough. Not enough. Baptized by the lightning bolts, the clothes on Yi Zan's body had long been reduced to ashes. However, he ignored this matter. The lightning bolts that contained terrifying destructive power kept striking Yi Zan's body. His purpose was very simple. He just wanted to use the power of thunder to temper his body. When she comprehended the embryonic form of the heavenly lightning intent, she understood that the power of lightning was also divided into grades and levels, such as lightning, heavenly lightning, and magic lightning. 1. Of this lot, the most terrifying power of lightning was said to be the heavenly lightning itself. Rumble. Rumble. As the terrifying power of lightning suddenly struck his body, it started strengthening his body at a speed that was visible to the naked eye. He had already half a foot into the third level of the unity realm, and the divine elements had multiplied tremendously. Whether it was the strength of his body or the self-healing speed of his life force, they had all reached an extremely terrifying level. Chapter 164. Ridiculous. But this is reality. At this moment, under the tempering of the lightning bolts, Yi Zan's body was being strengthened rapidly. Of course, Yi Zan's ultimate goal was not to temper his body. He could sense the endless power of lightning tempering every cell within his body, and he could feel it coursing through his veins. What Yi Zan really wanted to do was comprehend the heavenly lightning intent itself, and not just its embryonic form. At this moment, the epiphany experience was still ongoing, which was why he had charged directly into the thunderstorm cloud. With the help of the embryonic form of the heavenly lightning intent, he started to comprehend the essence of the power of lightning. When the endless power of lightning coursed through his veins, he gained many insights. As time passed, Yi Zan's comprehension of the heavenly lightning intent became deeper and deeper. Suddenly, the epiphany ended, and the endless lightning bolts from the thunderstorm cloud also ceased. Yi Zan slowly stretched out his hand, and the countless thunder snakes wriggled along his fingertips, exuding destructive power. Moments later, these lightning snakes transformed into birds, beasts, and all kinds of lifeforms. I finally succeeded in comprehending the why lightning intent. Yi Zan was overjoyed. He had successfully comprehended the first level of the heavenly lightning intent. The endless power of lightning in the thunderstorm was extremely terrifying, but could not harm Yi Zan at this point. Lightning was now his friend. Sparks of lightning flew from his fingertips, like a mini fireworks display. Phew. Yi Zan exhaled deeply, and then seemed to have thought of something. He took out a piece of clothing from his storage ring and put it on. What happened? Why did the power of lightning suddenly disappear? I'm not too sure either. Countless cultivators looked at each other and saw the confusion in each other's eyes. However, they suddenly had an inexplicable thought. It seemed that an extremely extraordinary thing had just happened. Of course, they never thought that Yi Zan could comprehend the actual heavenly lightning intent. After all, comprehending the embryonic form of the heavenly lightning intent was already shocking enough. Still, the disappearance of the power of lightning might be related to that fellow. What on earth did he do? Could it be that by comprehending the embryonic form of the heavenly lightning intent, he could control the endless power of lightning in the thunderstorm cloud? Everyone's minds were full of questions. Whoosh. At this moment, Yi Zan turned into a streak of light and slowly landed on the heavenly lightning pool, catching everyone's attention. Their eyes were filled with jealousy, eagerness, shock, confusion, and so on. Rumble. Once Yi Zan left the heavenly lightning pool, the lightning bolts started descending again. When everyone saw this, their pupils constricted. For tens of thousands of years, the power of lightning here had never once stopped, yet it had done so today. Once Yi Zan left the heavenly lightning pool, the people around him could see his face clearly. It's him. Yi Zan. It's Yi Zan. This is too unbelievable. How did this guy do it? Still, it's understandable if it's this guy. After all, everything that happens around this guy is absolutely ridiculous. The cultivators from the Great Qian dynasty were shocked and almost scared out of their wits. After all, the distance between him and them was akin to the distance between heaven and earth. However, others were unable to determine his identity. Yi Zan, you said that this guy's name is Yi Zan. Judging from the tone of your voice, it seems that you come from the same place. The cultivators of the Nanzhou region asked around curiously. Of course, this guy is the strongest genius of our Great Qian dynasty. You may not know this, but Yi Zan reached the Unity Realm at the age of 20. When the cultivators of the Great Qian dynasty heard those around them inquiring about Yi Zan, they began to introduce Yi Zan proudly. Although their own strength was very weak, it was a blessing to be in the same empire as such a prodigy. How is that possible? Are you telling the truth? He reached the Unity Realm at the age of 20. Brother, aren't you going overboard? There should be some limit to your bragging. If you say that this guy entered the Zuden realm at the age of 20, then I can at least believe it. If he entered the true core realm at the age of 20, I can barely believe it. However, if you say that this guy reached the Unity realm at the age of 20, then your bragging realm is simply out of this world. I know that you find it hard to believe. My initial reaction was exactly the same as yours, but there's nothing that can be done about it. It's the truth. Didn't you see him successfully comprehend the embryonic form of the heavenly lightning intent now? What are his previous achievements compared to what he accomplished earlier? The Great Qian dynasty, I seem to have a little impression of it. It's to be a faction at the bottom ranks of the Nanzhou region, right? Such a trash faction actually managed to produce such a peerless genius. De nerd lie to use. That guy must be from a super dynasty or holy land. Otherwise, how could he comprehend the embryonic form of the heavenly lightning intent within such a short time? Chapter 165, Blaming Others. For a moment, everyone was in a heated discussion. The name Yi Zan was still deeply engraved in their minds, but they did not believe that Yi Zan came from the Great Qian dynasty. After all, how could such a peerless genius appear within an empire that was ranked among the lowest in the Nanzhou region? Given his achievements, he had to have come from one of those super empires or holy lands. Just as everyone was discussing among themselves, a cold voice suddenly rang out. Everyone was comprehending the heavenly lightning intent peacefully together here, yet you drew in all of the lightning bolts to temper your physical body. Do you know that you have seriously impeded our comprehension efforts? Hearing this, everyone looked around for the source of this voice, but were unable to locate the speaker. The other party's goal was extremely obvious. They wanted to make Yi Zan out to be a public enemy. The originally noisy scene instantly quieted down. At this moment, the only thing that moved was the power of lightning roiling within the thunderstorm cloud. Oh, Yi Zan raised his eyebrows. He had not expected someone to kick up a fuss after he had comprehended the heavenly lightning intent. Although he had not revealed his Unity Realm cultivation, common sense dictated that anyone who could successfully comprehend the embryonic form of the heavenly lightning intent would not be an ordinary person. This guy dared to provoke him like this. He was either very strong, or lacking in common sense. Others might not have been able to detect the source of the voice, but there was no hiding from Yi Zan's powerful spiritual sense. Soon, Yi Zan's gaze fell on a middle-aged man who was not far away. The middle-aged man wore a black robe and looked at Yi Zan coldly. It's him. He's an elder from the Blood Moon Temple, Li Tianyu. It's said that this guy reached the second level of the Unity Realm 3 years ago. But no matter what, the people from the Blood Moon Temple are not good people. This young man might have to suffer. There might be a good show to watch. The surrounding cultivators immediately recognized the identity of the middle-aged man. The Blood Moon Temple was an extremely terrifying force in the Nanzhou region. Its reputation was not inferior to the Nether God sect. It seems that you have a problem with me. Yi Zan looked at Li Tianyu indifferently. How could any super expert who could break through to the Unity Realm be a fool? It seemed that this guy was here to cause trouble. The facts proved that Yi Zan was right. Li Tianyu was indeed here to cause trouble. Moreover, almost everyone from the Blood Moon Temple was evil. They did things as they pleased. If they took a fancy to your treasures and artifacts, they had no qualms robbing and killing you. The Blood Moon Temple's strength was extremely terrifying. Previously, several sects had joined forces to destroy the Blood Moon Temple, but not only did they not succeed, many even lost their lives. Back then, the Great Qian dynasty had also participated. In the past, the Great Qian dynasty had Unity Realm experts, but lost them during that earth-shattering battle. After that battle, the cultivators of the Blood Moon Temple acted without restraint. When the others saw this, although they were displeased, they could do nothing about it. In any case, as long as the Blood Moon Temple did not find trouble with them, they would turn a blind eye. This was the third time Li Tianyu had entered the Mystic Realm. Every time he entered the Mystic Realm, he would head directly to the Heavenly Lightning Pool to try and comprehend the embryonic form of the Heavenly Lightning intent. However, up until now, he had not gained anything. In one more day, the Mystic Realm would close. He would never have the chance to comprehend the embryonic form of the Heavenly Lightning intent here again in his entire life. Therefore, his words were driven by jealousy. The eyes and ears of a Unity Realm expert were extremely sharp. He had heard the contents of the discussions of the cultivators around and learned that Yizan was from the Great Qian dynasty. If he remembered correctly, the Great Qian dynasty was a small empire that had also participated in that battle against the Blood Moon Temple. A cultivator from such a backward empire had comprehended the embryonic form of the Heavenly Lightning intent. So what? What was there to be afraid of? Moreover, this guy had just tempered his body with the power of tens of thousands of lightning bolts. He must have obtained a great opportunity. Of course, to him, the notion that Yizan had entered the Unity Realm at the age of 20 was simply utter nonsense. Could it be that the cultivators of the Great Qian dynasty could not distinguish the difference between the Unity Realm and the Core Formation Realm? Moreover, the cultivators who said that Yizan had reached the Unity Realm were mostly Purple Spirit Realm cultivators. How could such weak cultivators be able to distinguish the energy fluctuations of a Unity Realm expert? Therefore, Li Tianyu firmly believed that Yizan was definitely not a Unity Realm expert and chose to attack. Originally, I was already close to comprehending the embryonic form of the Heavenly Lightning intent, but because you drew thousands of lightning bolts to temper your body, my comprehension was seriously affected. If you are unable to give me sufficient compensation, you won't be able to leave today. Li Tianyu looked at Yizan coldly. Yizan conveniently checked out Li Tianyu's comprehension value, which was only 220 points. With such lacking comprehension value, how could he even think of comprehending the embryonic form of the Heavenly Lightning intent? He even wanted to blame it on Yizan. How ridiculous. Chapter 166, Insta-Kill. Hee, can you afford to accept the compensation I'm about to give you? Yizan could not help but smile coldly. When everyone saw this scene, their pupils suddenly constricted, and their eyes were filled with shock. Yizan was not afraid of Li Tianyu at all. He was not afraid of the Blood Moon Temple. Or had this guy not heard of the Blood Moon Temple before? Was he tired of living? Could this guy really be from the Great Qian dynasty? The cultivators from that backward place were really something else. This was the Blood Moon Temple. The same one that casually kills people and steals their treasures. It was a pity, but it seemed a peerless genius who had comprehended the embryonic form of the Heavenly Lightning intent was about to die. Hee. Hearing this, Li Tianyu narrowed his eyes. Then, his figure suddenly disappeared. Not good. Everyone's expressions changed drastically as they retreated frantically. It was obvious that Li Tianyu was about to make a move. If a Unity Realm expert made a move, it would definitely affect everyone present. More importantly, Li Tianyu was a cultivator from the Blood Moon Temple, which meant that he would not care about the life and death of anyone here. Seeing this, Yizan's expression did not change. Instead, he slowly raised his right fist and suddenly punched the space in front of him. Boom. Moments later, that space suddenly rippled, and then a figure shot out like a cannonball. Whoosh. Before anyone could react, Yizan's figure suddenly disappeared, and then reappeared next to Li Tianyu's retreating figure. Boom. Another simple punch was thrown. However, this time it was infused with powerful fist intent. Li Tianyu's body suddenly exploded. The divine elements in his body blossomed with vitality, trying to repair his broken body. Then, Yizan gently extended his index finger and pointed in Li Tianyu's direction, and the destructive power of lightning surged out. Boom. A Unity Realm expert was suddenly turned into ashes and smoke. Everyone fell deathly silent. It was not until the lightning bolts descended and the sound of thunder roared that everyone came back to their senses. Yizan calmly reached out his hand and grabbed something. It was a storage ring. Then, Yizan's figure suddenly disappeared, and he returned to his original spot. Everyone was dumbfounded when they saw this. What had happened? Was it over so quickly? Li Tianyu was instantly killed by Yizan. A second-level Unity Realm expert had failed to even put up the slightest bit of resistance. Yi Zan had easily crushed Li Tianyu. In that case, how strong was Yi Zan? Why was a 20-year-old cultivator this strong? All it had taken was 2 punches and a flick of his finger. How could such a peerless genius emerge from the great Qian dynasty? Could he be a hidden descendant of an ancient force? They looked at Yi Zan in disbelief. As I expected, Yi Zan killed another opponent instantly. As expected of the strongest genius of our great Qian dynasty. Miracles always happen around him. The cultivators of the great Qian dynasty were excited. Every one of Yi Zan's battles that they had seen or heard about had ended up like this, with Yi Zan crushing his opponent in an instant. Also, Yi Zan's greatest strength was his sword qi. However, a sword cultivator had insta-killed a Unity Realm expert with his fist. This meant that Li Tianyu was not even worthy of Yi Zan drawing his sword. When they revealed Yi Zan's identity just now, no one had believed them, and many people even ridiculed them. How can such a peerless genius come from the great Qian dynasty? He must be from a super empire or holy land, or is a descendant of a hidden major force from ancient times. That's right. How can such a backward place like the great Qian dynasty produce such a peerless genius? That's utter nonsense. The scene of Yi Zan killing Li Tianyu in an instant just now had deeply shocked everyone. However, they refused to believe that Yi Zan came from the great Qian dynasty. When the cultivators of the great Qian dynasty heard this, they were so angry that they almost spat out a mouthful of blood. These guys recognized Yi Zan's terrifying strength and monstrous talent, but they did believe that Yi Zan came from the great Qian dynasty. This made them somewhat depressed. Even if you don't believe it now, when the War God Hall opens, you will know Yi Zan's identity. When that time comes, let's see if you can still call us liars. Those guys obviously looked down on the great Qian dynasty, which was why they would not admit that Yi Zan was a cultivator from the great Qian dynasty. Just now, when he killed Li Tianyu, that was fist intent, right? What's so strange about that? Since he was able to comprehend the embryonic form of the heavenly lightning intent, what's so strange about him being able to comprehend a fist intent? I'm curious about his true strength. I wonder what cultivation level he has reached. Chapter 167. Audience Speculations. Everyone was looking at Yi Zan with serious expressions. Even the 2 4th-level Unity Realm experts present could not sense Yi Zan's cultivation level. There were only 2 possibilities why this was so. First, Yi Zan had an extremely powerful secret technique that could conceal his cultivation level. Second, Yi Zan's strength far surpassed theirs. If it was the first case, it would be considered normal, but if it was the second case. At the thought of this, the 2 4th-grade Unity Realm experts trembled, and their gazes were filled with fear. If this person really reached the Unity Realm at the age of 20, then his cultivation talent is enough to dominate the entire Nanzhou region. That's right, even the leader of the Divine Gate only reached the Unity Realm at that age, but this guy already has the strength to instantly kill a second-level Unity Realm expert. His strength is already unparalleled among the younger generation of the Nanzhou region. Yi Zan. After the Mystic Realm closes, this person's name will definitely spread throughout the Nanzhou region. That's right. In my opinion, this young man must be a successor of some ancient holy land. Those Unity Realm cultivators who were on good terms with each other were discussing this matter. Almost all of these Unity Realm experts had only reached the Unity Realm at the age of 70, and some even later at 100. But this guy killed Li Tianyu publicly. This will definitely anger the Blood Moon Temple. Those guys have always been arrogant. They will definitely take revenge at all costs. If that young man falls into their hands, he will most likely die. What's there to worry about? He must be a descendant of a super force. The Blood Moon Temple might not dare to touch him. That's right. No matter how arrogant those guys from the Blood Moon Temple are, they still have to be wary of those super empires and ancient holy lands. Of course, if this young man really doesn't have any backing, then he'll be in trouble. Those old guys from the Blood Moon Temple won't be bothered with whether he's a genius or not. Brother, don't tell me you actually believe that the young man is from the great Qian dynasty. How is that possible? Everyone gave up on trying to comprehend the embryonic form of the heavenly lightning intent and started discussing Yi Zan enthusiastically. They were extremely curious about his identity and background. No one believed the cultivators from the great Qian dynasty. They came up with their own speculations as to Yi Zan's origins and affiliation. However, most of them guessed that Yi Zan came from an ancient holy land, and that he was traveling the world to train and temper himself. he likely coincidentally encountered the opening of the mystic realm. Given Yi Zan's powerful spiritual sense, he naturally overheard the discussion of the crowd, but he did not care. Then, Yi Zan sat cross-legged, closed his eyes, and began to cultivate. Yu and Huang Ling, who were beside him, did the same. They were not the slightest bit surprised by Yi Zan's performance. Moreover, it would be stranger to them if Yi Zan could not instantly kill and crush his opponent. Zhaohe City, Zhongqing City, Qingyan Mountain, and so on. These were the places they had witnessed Yi Zan display his strength. All of these were resolved in the same manner, which was the instant death of his enemies. On the contrary, they were more surprised that Yi Zan had comprehended the embryonic form of the heavenly lightning intent. This was a supreme intent. Zhao Yuyan, on the other hand, could not calm down. Instead, she sneaked glances at her teacher from time to time. Her teacher's performance just now was too awe-inspiring. He seemed almost godlike when he drew the thousands of lightning bolts to temper his body. She now totally idolized him. Little girl, you can't let yourself be distracted while cultivating, Yi Zan reminded her. Yes, teacher. Hearing his words, she felt slightly embarrassed. Then, she quickly became serious and began to cultivate. Yi Zan, who had his eyes tightly shut, noticed her efforts, and a smile hung on the corners of his mouth. These 2 days had been Zhao Yuyan's happiest days. No one had cursed or humiliated her. Moreover, with her teacher by her side, she felt a great sense of security. It was also because of this that Zhao Yuyan finally started acting her age, which made her even more adorable. It's time to stabilize my cultivation, Yi Zan said inwardly. Originally, after refining the Mi Luo flower, the tempering of his spiritual sense allowed him to control 100% of his strength. However, after infusing spiritual power into Zhao Yuyan, the system's reward had pushed him into the second level of the Unity realm, resulting in his over the power in his Dantian decreasing slightly. Chapter 168, Tower of Heaven. Therefore, Yi Zan wanted to stabilize his cultivation foundation before the War God Hall opened. With his current comprehension value, half a day would be enough. Moreover, with his strength, he might be able to fight for the peak position when the War God Hall opened. It was said that the War God Hall contained a ranking board. Any cultivator who was ranked on the board would receive extremely generous rewards, especially the cultivator who took first place. The first-ranked cultivator could even obtain a huge inheritance from a super faction. Therefore, Yi Zan planned to try and see if the inheritance contained the heavenly treasures that he needed, as well as a cultivation method that could temper his spiritual sense. Once the War God Hall closed, the mystic realm would also close. At that time, it was time for him to travel to the Radiant Sky Empire to search for Zhao Yuyan. Then, Yi Zan calmed his heart and slowly examined the power coursing through his body. After performing spiritual power infusion on Zhao Yuyan, he had already reached the second level of the Unity realm, and was even close to reaching the third level. At that point, his level of control of his strength had hovered around 95%. However, because he had used the power of lightning to temper his body and improve his control over his power, the figure had increased to 98%. As long as he stabilized his cultivation foundation now, he would be able to further increase the level of control he had. However, as one's level of control over one's power gradually approached 100%, every tiny increase would become as difficult as ascending to the heavens. Therefore, Yi Zan was very eager to find a cultivation method that could temper his spiritual sense. He hoped that the War God Hall would not let him down. As time slowly passed, the discussions among the crowd gradually stopped. Some cultivators once again sat cross-legged, wanting to make a final struggle to see if a miracle could happen. Boom! The entire mystic realm suddenly shook, and mysterious fluctuations rippled in the space around the mystic realm. All the cultivators in the mystic realm, whether they were fighting or cultivating, were instantly forcefully awakened by these mysterious fluctuations. The War God Hall is about to open. Some cultivators shouted excitedly. Other than those cultivators who were in life or death battles, the rest stopped what they were doing and waited for the mystic realm to send them to the War God Hall. The War God Hall was the biggest opportunity in the Moon Demon mystic realm, and they naturally would not miss it. Teacher, what is the War God Hall? Looking at the surprised expressions of the cultivators around her, Zhao Yuyan could not help but blink her eyes and look at Yi Zan curiously. She had only entered the mystic realm to pick spiritual herbs for her mother, so she had no clue about the opportunities in the mystic realm, much less the War God Hall. The War God Hall is an independent space in the mystic realm. There are great opportunities inside. Yi Zan looked at Zhao Yuyan and explained with a smile. War God Hall. It was the greatest opportunity in the Moon Demon Mystic Realm, and a space independent of the Mystic Realm. Its territory was vast and boundless. Although many cultivators had entered the War God Hall, they had yet to fully explore and map it out. However, they did know that the Tower of Heaven was inside it. The Tower of Heaven was divided into 99 floors. Any cultivator who entered the War God Hall and passed the test was qualified to enter the Tower of Heaven. Any cultivator who passed the trials of 10 floors would receive a reward from the Tower of Heaven. It was said that if a cultivator could reach the 90th floor, they would receive a huge reward from the Tower of Heaven for each trial they passed. Of course, this was only a legend. Since the opening of the Mystic Realm, no cultivator had ever been able to reach the 90th floor. Moreover, there was a legend that if a cultivator could reach the top of the Tower of Heaven, they would be able to learn the true secrets behind the Moon Demon Mystic Realm, and also obtain the true inheritance of the Mystic Realm. However, in order to obtain a good ranking in the Tower of Babel, one required not only strength, but also talent. The Tower of Heaven assessed and determined talent based on the cultivator's age and cultivation level. Of course, the Tower of Heaven lacked the objective and accurate measurement of the system, which could accurately calculate a cultivator's innate bone value and comprehension value. Once the War God Hall opens, the cultivators in the Mystic Realm will be instantly transported inside, but they will be randomly teleported around the War God Hall. Therefore, after the War God Hall opens, I may be separated from you, Yi Zan. Of course, the War God Hall also had an extremely crucial rule, which was that cultivators were not allowed to kill each other. If anyone dared to violate the rule, they would be forcefully wiped out by the power of the War God Hall's rules. Chapter 169. Jinx again. Yi Zan was not worried about the safety of Zhao Yuyan and the others. After all, Zhao Yuyan had the protection of the Firewing. In addition, this little girl's storage bracelet still had the jade tokens he had refined for her. However, when Zhao Yuyan heard this, her eyes dimmed and her expression turned sad. Little girl, keep this nihility pill well. In 30 days, you will have to consume it. It will once again suppress the demon devourer body. I cannot guarantee when I will arrive at the Radiant Sky Empire or the White Moon Tower. Of course, if I manage to find you within 30 days, there is no need to consume the nihility pill. As soon as he finished speaking, Yi Zan took out the nihility pill and handed it to Zhao Yuyan. However, Zhao Yuyan did not take it. Instead, she lowered her head. Her body trembled slightly, and her eyes stared at the ground beneath her feet. Moments later, Zhao Yuyan pounced on Yi Zan and hugged him tightly, unwilling to let go at all. Teacher, Zhao Yuyan said with a choked voice. Silly girl, after the Mystic Realm closes, I will definitely come to pick you up as soon as possible. Don't worry, we won't be separated for too long. Yi Zan smiled and rubbed Zhao Yuyan's tiny head. Hearing this, Zhao Yuyan raised her head and looked at Yi Zan with a face full of reluctance. You must remember what I said. The demon devourer body will no longer affect the cultivators around you. If someone dares to cause trouble for you, you can't allow them to bully you. Don't forget, you still have my demon beast companion by your side. He's very powerful. Yi Zan reached out to wipe away the tears from Zhao Yuyan's eyes. Then, he took out a jade token from his storage ring and imprinted it with his spiritual sense. After doing all this, Yi Zan handed the jade token over to Zhao Yuyan. Although this jade token did not have the power to kill, its deterrent effect was extremely strong. This jade token contains the power of my spiritual sense. If you encounter an enemy that even your demon beast companion is unable to handle, immediately crush it. I will definitely sense it. Yi Zan's gaze was gentle as he said this. Once this jade token was crushed, the aura inside would instantly be released. At that time, the enemy would face Yi Zan's aura, which would deter them from attacking Zhao Yuyan. Other than her parents, Yi Zan was the first person to display warmth toward her. It was also because of this that Zhao Yuyan did not want to leave Yi Zan's side. She wished that Yi Zan would be able to stay by her side forever, and return to the White Moon Tower with her to visit and take her mother away. Little girl, you must remember what I said. Do not expose your storage bracelet in front of others. After you enter the War God Hall, if anyone dares to bully you, release your demon beast companion and teach them a lesson. However, you must not kill them, otherwise you will be punished by the War God Hall. As for the Tower of Heaven, do not go there. Your current cultivation level is insufficient, and your control over your own strength is lacking. Even if you challenge the Tower of Heaven, it's unlikely that you will obtain any generous rewards. Just stay in the War God Hall and wait for the Mystic Realm to close, Yizan said. Okay, little girl, stop crying and remember my instructions. Yizan wiped Zhao Yuyan's tears away again. Yes, Yunur will heed teacher's instructions. Zhao Yuyan nodded with a choked voice. Although she let go of Yizan's hand, she was still clutching his robe. Seeing this, Yu hurried over and held Zhao Yuyan's other hand with a gentle gaze. Boom. At the same time, the rippling mysterious fluctuations became even more intense. Moments later, a terrifying suction force suddenly swept out, pulling everyone inside. Even Yizan was unable to resist. Little girl, you must remember what I said. Yizan glanced at Zhao Yuyan and only had time to say those words. Then, his entire body was enveloped by blinding light, and disappeared. This happened to every cultivator in the mystic realm at the same time. Just like when he entered the mystic realm, when light subsided, Yizan found himself in an unfamiliar space. The world was white, and so was everything he could see. Not far from Yizan, countless cultivators appeared, bringing color to this vast white space. Yizan examined his surroundings for a moment. Yu and the others were not in this space, and neither were the cultivators of the Qingyan sect. In another space, a mysterious wave slowly rippled out. Zhao Yuyan suddenly landed in a space inside the War God Hall. At the same time, she suddenly felt that her palm was empty. Teacher was gone. Senior sister Yu was gone, and so was senior sister Huang Ling. At that moment, Zhao Yuyan was at a loss. The cultivators around her were all unfamiliar faces, and she was like a little girl lost in a mall without her parents. You jinx, how dare you come to the War God Hall? At this moment, an ear-piercing voice suddenly rang out. Zhao Yuyan was startled when she heard this, and she quickly looked up at the source of the voice. Less than 20 meters away, a female cultivator was looking at her coldly. Li, senior sister Li. Zhao Yuyan recognized the female cultivator, who was also a cultivator from the White Moon Tower. Moreover, she was one of the female cultivators who had surrounded her outside the forest earlier. Her name was Li Shuiyan, and she was a third-level True Essence Realm cultivator. I'm really unlucky to have run into a jinx like you in the War God Hall. Li Shuiyan's gaze landed on Zhao Yuyan. Her eyes were filled with disdain. Then, she quickly tiptoed and distanced herself from Zhao Yuyan. You guys have to be careful. Don't get close to this jinx, or you'll be in big trouble. There were many people close to the jinx earlier. Just know that all kinds of disasters can and will befall you. I've already warned you guys, you can do what you want with that information. Li Shuiyan retreated dozens of meters and then reminded the people around her in a sharp tone. What? You said that this little girl is a jinx. Hearing this, everyone had puzzled expressions. However, when they noticed Li Shuiyan's expression, their eyes immediately narrowed. They secretly guessed that this little girl might have a cursed item. Chapter 170. You dared to humiliate my teacher and junior sister. Immediately, everyone left Zhao Yuyan. A large empty area was formed around Zhao Yuyan, just like all those times in the past. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to. Zhao Yuyan subconsciously lowered her head, her small hands clutching the corners of her clothes. I don't have the same aura anymore. I won't bring bad luck to others now. Zhao Yuyan's voice became less and less confident. Her voice was as soft as a mosquito. No one could hear her other than herself. Hee, you were born to be a jinx. In the past, you even knew how to admit your mistakes. Who would have thought that after only a few days, you would actually dare to lie in front of everyone? Do you think that you have caused too few deaths? Others might not know, but I am different. Everyone who gets close to you will either end up dead or injured. Seeing this, Li Shuiyan revealed a cold smile. Previously, she had accidentally gotten close to Zhao Yuyan. After that, she had been unlucky for a very long time, and had even seen the person she liked fall in love with another person. One had to know that the two of them were in an intimate relationship back then. However, later on, Li Shuiyan also understood the real reason. That senior was just a scumbag who just wanted to play with her feelings. Even so, Li Shuiyan still resented Zhao Yuyan. She thought that if it was not for Zhao Yuyan, none of this would have happened. If it was not for this jinx, how could she have such a tragic fate? I have a teacher now. My teacher told me that I will never bring bad luck to anyone else anymore. Zhao Yuyan's small hands gripped the corners of her clothes tightly as she uttered those words with some grievance. Her teacher had already helped her suppress the demonic devourer body. Why would these people still misunderstand her? Teacher, Hee, this is really laughable. How could someone accept a jinx like you as a disciple? I guess your teacher didn't see your true colors. You shouldn't kill your teacher. A jinx like you should die alone. Why did you come out and harm others? Li Shuiyan said sarcastically. Shut up. Don't you dare talk about my teacher like that. Hearing Li Shuiyan insult Yi Zan, Zhao Yuyan suddenly became angry. Seeing this, Li Shuiyan was shocked. She had never seen Zhao Yuyan put up a fight. Previously, no matter how they cursed or insulted Zhao Yuyan, this little girl would only bear it. She did not dare to retort and would even take the initiative to leave. However, this jinx was now angry. She actually saw monstrous anger in Zhao Yuyan's eyes. So what if she was angry? She was just a jinx and a weak cultivator. There was nothing to fear. If she had not been afraid of being contaminated by this jinx's bad luck again, she would have gone over and slapped her. She was not the only one who wanted to teach Zhao Yuyan a good lesson. There were even many in the White Moon Tower who wished that Zhao Yuyan would die an early death. However, no one dared to make a move because anyone who got close to Zhao Yuyan would be contaminated by her bad luck. If they were to personally kill her, who knew what the consequences would be? This was also the reason why Zhao Yuyan was still able to survive despite being hated by everyone. After all, how could her Purple Spirit Realm mother protect her? HMPH. You have the confidence to fight back after obtaining a teacher, huh? You actually dare to act arrogantly in front of me. Didn't I just say a few words to you? What's there to be unhappy about? A jinx is a jinx. Even if you become someone's disciple, you will bring all kinds of bad luck to your teacher. You will personally cause his death. In my opinion, your teacher is really blind to actually accept a jinx like you as his disciple. A cold smile hung on her lips. Don't speak ill of my teacher. The anger in Zhao Yuyan's eyes grew stronger as the mark of a large bird slowly lit up between her brows. Just as the firewing in Zhao Yuyan's body was about to come out, a warm and gentle palm was slowly placed on Zhao Yuyan's shoulder. My teacher's disciple and my junior sister, is she someone you can bully? At the same time, a cold voice rang out. Li Shuiyan's expression changed when she saw this. A bright light flashed past, and a peerless beauty suddenly appeared behind Zhao Yuyan. Senior sister Yu. Zhao Yuyan looked at Yu behind her and could no longer suppress her emotions. Who are you? Seeing this, Li Shuiyan could not help but frown and stared at Yu. That isn't important. What's important is that you actually dared to insult my teacher and my junior sister. You will definitely pay the price. Yu held the Qingyan sword and slowly walked forward while keeping Zhao Yuyan behind her. You said that this jinx is your junior sister. Hearing this, Li Shuiyan was stunned, and then a cold smile appeared on her face. I didn't expect that you two actually came from the same sect. You might not know this, but this BTCH in front of you is. However, before she could finish her words, Yu's figure suddenly disappeared. Moments, a loud sound suddenly resounded across the sky. A huge force suddenly slammed onto Li Shuiyan's face, causing the latter to spin several times in the air before ruthlessly smashing into the ground. At the same time, a bright red palm print appeared on Li Shuiyan's face, and a few broken teeth also appeared on the ground. You actually dared to attack me. Li Shuiyan was completely dumbfounded. This was the War God Hall. Was she not worried about the punishment from the War God Hall? So what if I attacked you? If it weren't for the rules of the War God Hall, you would be dead right now. Someone actually insulted her teacher and junior sister in public. How could you stand for that? She could tolerate others insulting her, but she would never allow others to insult her teacher. That was an absolute taboo in her heart. When Li Shuiyan heard this, she was furious. She naturally knew the rules of the War God Hall, and she also knew that you definitely would not dare to kill her. Chapter 171. The Tower of Heaven appears. HMPH. Yu coldly snorted, the corners of her mouth curling up into a sneer. Moments later, Yu raised her hand again, her spiritual power transforming into an open palm which abruptly slapped Li Shuiyan's cheek. A resounding sound rang out once more. Followed by another slap. Li Shuiyan's initial expression was still somewhat resentful, but the resentment in her eyes had now turned into fear. This woman was clearly not as old as her, so why was she so powerful? This terrifying power, she had probably reached the Purple Spirit Realm, right? Could it be that she was a cultivator from a super sect? One slap after another landed Li Shuiyan's cheek, instantly causing her face to swell up like a pig's head. After the last slap, Li Shuiyan fainted. Seeing this, Yu stopped. Although Yu was usually quite gentle, once she chose to attack, she was more ruthless than anyone else. She turned around with a cold expression. When she saw Zhao Yuyan, she revealed a bright smile. When everyone saw this scene, their eyelids twitched. They did not expect this beautiful girl to be so ruthless. Was she not worried that she would accidentally kill that person? Moreover, what surprised them the most was Yu's strength. Based on those powerful energy fluctuations, she seemed to have reached the purple spirit realm. However, how could this woman have such terrifying strength at such a young age? Could it be that she was a cultivator from a super sect? Also, who was the teacher that this woman was talking about? Everyone's hearts were filled with doubt, but no one dared to ask. Yu slowly walked over to Zhao Yuyan's side, but then suddenly frowned. When she made her move just now, she had suddenly felt that there was an invisible force that locked onto her in the War God Hall. Moreover, Yu could clearly feel that if she really killed Li Shuiyan, she would definitely be killed by this invisible force. The invisible force only gradually dissipated after she stopped. Junior sister, remember this. After leaving the mystic realm, if there are still people who dare to bully you, don't let them get away with it. Zhao Yuyan nodded seriously. Yu could not help but sigh when she saw this. Although her junior sister agreed, given her weak personality, she probably would not be able to change so quickly. However, this kind of thing could not be forced. It would be fine as long as she took her time. Thank you, senior sister. Zhao Yuyan walked forward, her small hands tightly holding onto Yu's arm, revealing a sweet smile. Silly girl, we're family. There's no need to be so polite. Yu smiled, and then reached out to fix the latter's messy hair. Okay, Zhao Yuyan nodded and revealed a bright smile. When she arrived at this place alone, she was very depressed. Furthermore, she was insulted by Li Shuiyan, which made her even sadder. Now that senior sister Yu was by her side, Zhao Yuyan's mood was naturally much better. Then, the two of them found a place to cultivate. Due to the example set by Li Shuiyan, no other cultivators dared to provoke them. At the same time, the spatial fluctuations continued to ripple out in their surroundings, and many cultivators appeared. In this boundless white space, countless cultivators were now present. However, when compared to when the mystic realm first opened, the number was now far less after all of the fighting for treasures. Many cultivators had been permanently laid to rest inside this mystic realm. Still, the white space was becoming more and more cramped as more cultivators appeared. Suddenly, Li Shuiyan, whose face was swollen like a pig's head, woke up and let out a muffled groan. The moment she regained consciousness, she felt an intense pain on her face. When Li Shuiyan opened her eyes, she also noticed the strange gazes from the people around her. She was momentarily stunned before immediately reacting. Her eyes were filled with shame, and she really wanted to find a hole to bury herself in. She was filled with extreme hatred toward Yu. There were people everywhere, and she had nowhere to hide. If she had known earlier, she would have not woken up. Thus, Li Shuiyan could only endure the humiliation in her heart, taking out a healing pill and swallowing it. Boom! Suddenly, the center of the War God Hall suddenly trembled violently. Moments later, everyone saw an incomparably huge tower suddenly appear out of nowhere. It emitted resplendent light, connecting the heavens and the earth. At the same time, waves of ancient aura surged forth from the tower. Tower of Heaven. 3 words that contained an ancient aura suddenly appeared on the tower. The Tower of Heaven had a total of 99 floors. Any cultivator who passed the examination of the War God Hall had the right to enter the Tower of Heaven to challenge the trials within. Moreover, those who challenged 10 floors successfully would be rewarded richly by the Tower of Heaven. Is this the Tower of Heaven? It's so majestic. This tower exudes an extremely ancient aura. It's probably an ancient place that existed tens of thousands of years ago, or perhaps even hundreds of thousands of years ago. How terrifying was the expert who created this Tower of Heaven back then? It's simply a divine opportunity. Everyone's gaze fell on the Tower of Heaven, and they began to discuss enthusiastically. Those who had just entered the War God Hall were even more shocked to see such a heaven-defying tower. I'm not too sure either, but an expert once said that the Tower of Heaven is in its own independent void space, but creates an illusion that it's close to where we are. Other than cultivators who have the qualifications to enter the War God Hall, the rest of the cultivators cannot touch the Tower of Heaven, nor can they challenge the trials. Some knowledgeable cultivators explained. What is the qualification to enter the War God Hall? Very simple, it refers to the actual age of cultivators. The War God Hall tests the actual age of every cultivator. Anyone whose actual age exceeds 50 years old is not qualified to enter the Tower of Heaven. I see, isn't this the same as the Nanzhou region genius rankings? Only cultivators below 50 years old are qualified to enter the rankings. Why does it feel like the Tower of Heaven is screening for geniuses? Many cultivators could not help but reveal a look of realization when they heard this. Chapter 172, Gongsun Yao. In the world of cultivators, anyone under the age of 50 was considered young. After all, the stronger a cultivator was, the longer their lifespan would be. Although many core formation realm experts looked to only be around 30 to 40 years old on the surface, their actual age might have already reached around 70 years of age. In particular, Unity realm experts possessed extremely long lifespans, and the speed at which they aged was extremely slow. Not only that, the appearance of a Unity realm expert would be maintained at the moment they broke through, and it would often last for several hundred years. Therefore, cultivators below the age of 50 could be considered young in the cultivation world. The so-called Nanzhou region genius rankings were the benchmark for the younger generation geniuses in the Nanzhou region. Any cultivator who managed to enter the rankings was considered a true genius. It was the same for the Tower of Heaven. Clearly, whoever had set up this tower had also wanted to select true geniuses through their own trials. Boom, boom. At this moment, two huge spatial fluctuations rippled out. Moments later, everyone suddenly saw the two sides of the Tower of Heaven erupt with brilliant light. Then, two enormous scrolls that hung in the sky slowly unfurled. Immediately, everyone looked up. It turned out that these two scrolls represented two lists. One was the combat power list and the other was the qualification list. The rankings on these lists went up to 100,000. These 100,000 ranks seemed to be a lot, but one must remember that they included the countless cultivators present here in the War God Hall. The Tower of Heaven and the Moon Demon Mystic Realm had appeared together. No one knew exactly when though. After all, countless years ago, this mystic realm had appeared in other parts of the world. Hence, no one could determine the exact time when the Moon Demon Mystic Realm and Tower of Heaven came to be. It could be tens of thousands of years, or it could be hundreds of thousands of years. Still, countless cultivators had entered the Tower of Heaven during that period, and it was widely known just how difficult it was to get into the rankings. Moreover, any cultivator who could enter the rankings would obtain bountiful rewards from the Tower of Heaven. At the same time, in another white space, Yi Zan raised his eyelids slightly and looked at the two scrolls indifferently. The names on the list were densely packed, but he did not recognize them at all. So many people have entered the list. The two lists add up to 200,000 places. Hee, this ranking list is so long. It seems that I still have a chance to get on the list. I also want to get on the list. It is said that any cultivator who can get on the list will receive bountiful rewards. And the higher the rank we obtain, the more generous the rewards. When the crowd saw the lists that appeared in the sky, they immediately started a heated discussion. Hee, do you think you have the qualifications to be ranked on the lists? Just as everyone was discussing, a disdainful voice suddenly spoke up. When everyone heard this, they hurriedly looked for the source of the voice and saw a young man carrying a longsword slowly walking over. This young man's eyes were filled with disdain when he looked at everyone. They were originally somewhat angry, but when they recognized who it was, their expressions immediately turned fearful. Jian Tianan, the personal disciple of the sect master of the Myriad Swords Temple. A top-notch expert ranked 5th on the Nanzhou region genius rankings. I didn't expect this guy to be here. Many cultivators immediately recognized the young man's identity. Seeing this, Yi Zan also glanced at Jian Tianan. This guy actually had a special sword Dao constitution. However, Yi Zan did not care too much. Although this sword Dao constitution was somewhat special, it could not compare to Yu's sword Jade body, let alone his own sword Overlord body. What right do you have to make fun of us? Each list has 100,000 places. Although we may not be able to enter the top ranks, we might be able to rank around 80,000 to 90,000. Some people knew Jian Tianan's identity, but there were also people who did not know. As such, there were some people who voiced their unhappiness. This person was from a mid-sized empire in the Nanzhou region. Within his own empire, he was considered a genius, and naturally had his own sense of pride. Moreover, he was only 22 years old, and had already reached the 10th level of the Purple Spirit Realm. He was only half a step away from reaching the core formation realm. Hee, A bunch of ignorant fools. With your trashy strength, forget about entering the rankings, you won't even be able to pass the 40th level of the Tower of Heaven. Before Jian Tianan could reply, the pleasant voice of a young girl suddenly could be heard from not far away. When everyone heard this, they hurriedly looked over. They saw a young girl around the age of 15 with a ponytail walking over. However, when she looked at that cultivator, her eyes were filled with disdain. Beside the ponytailed girl stood an extremely beautiful 20-year-old woman. They are from the Gongsun family. Gongsun Wan and Gongsun Yao. Gongsun Wan is only 25 years old, but she has already stepped into the early stage of the true core realm, and is ranked 10th on the Nanzhou region genius rankings. Oh my god, another top-notch expert. Compared to Gongsun Wan, that Gongsun Yao is the true peerless genius. She has already reached the 9th level of the purple spirit realm at the age of 16. Many knowledgeable people immediately recognized the identities of the two women. Gongsun Wan and Gongsun Yao were undoubtedly the strongest geniuses of the Gongsun family, and the two were blood-related sisters. The one who spoke just now was her younger sister, Gongsun Yao. Impudent. With my strength, how could I not pass the 40th level? You're underestimating me. When that cultivator heard this, he became extremely furious. He was the strongest genius of his empire, yet he was now being looked down upon by a 15-year-old young girl. What the FCK? Your strength. You're just an insignificant piece of trash. I'm only 16 years old, but have already reached the 9th level of the purple spirit realm. How could you compare yourself to the likes of me? Gongsun Yao snorted coldly, and her aura suddenly erupted. When she looked at the cultivator, her eyes were filled with disdain. When the cultivator saw this, his expression changed drastically. How was this possible? How could a 16-year-old reach the 9th level of the purple spirit realm? Was that not too monstrous? As the strongest genius of his empire, at the same age, he had not even reached the purple spirit realm. This was too terrifying. Chapter 173. Ignorant Country Bumpkin. Yao Yao, don't be rude to others. Gongsun Wan revealed a helpless expression when she saw this scene unfold. It was precisely because her younger sister's talent was so monstrous that she did not respect other cultivators at all. How am I being unreasonable? Aren't these weaklings all just frogs at the bottom of a well? Yet somehow they also think highly of themselves. Even with sister's strength, there is no guarantee that she will be able to enter the rankings, let alone a 10th level purple spirit realm weakling like you. Do they really think that the trials of the Tower of Heaven are just for show? Gongsun Yao looked at the cultivator with disdain, her gaze filled with arrogance. Ha ha ha, it seems that our Yao Yao is trying to demolish the confidence of others again. At this moment, loud laughter could be heard. A streak of light flashed past, and an old man suddenly appeared beside Gongsun Wan and Gongsun Yao. Grandpa Badian. Gongsun Yao smiled when she noticed the arrival of the newcomer. She walked over with an excited expression and hugged the old man's arm. Greetings, Grandpa Badian. Gongsun Wan also said softly when she saw him. It's actually him. Gongsun Badian. A terrifying existence whose cultivation has reached the 4th grade of the Unity Realm. Many cultivators immediately recognized Gongsun Badian. Jian Tianan, who was at the side, also could not help but frown when he saw this. He rarely paid attention to others. Only peerless geniuses with the same strength as him, or Unity Realm experts, were worthy of his attention. Therefore, when he heard that some people thought it was easy to enter the rankings, he could not help but laugh out loud. Now, whether it was the Gongsun sisters or Gongsun Badian, they were all people worth paying close attention to. Especially Gongsun Yao. Her talent was actually even more terrifying than his. Yao Yao, although your talent is top-notch, you must remember that there is always someone better than you. Today, you may look down on these cultivators with low talent. In the future, there will also be cultivators with top-notch talent looking down on you. Gongsun Badian stroked his white beard and said earnestly. At this moment, Gongsun Badian could not help but think of the young man he saw at the heavenly lightning pool earlier. Had he not met this person, his definition and worldview of talent would not have been transformed to what it was currently. Whether it was Gongsun Wan or Gongsun Yao, both were far inferior to that person. In Gongsun Badian's heart, no young cultivator in the entire Nanzhou region could compare to Yi Zan. In terms of cultivation talent, only the master of the Divine Gate could be compared to Yi Zan when the former was young. Suddenly, Gongsun Badian's facial expression changed. His hand that was stroking his white beard suddenly stiffened. He had spotted a familiar figure amidst the sea of people. Yi Zan, Grandpa Badian, is there something wrong? Gongsun Yao noticed Gongsun Badian's reaction, and could not help but ask curiously. Nothing. Gongsun Badian shook his head, and then his gaze fell on Gongsun Yao as he said earnestly, Yao Yao, don't be arrogant because of your talent. Although the Nanzhou region is vast, it's still insignificant compared to the size of the Tian Yuan continent. If you can leave the Nanzhou region in the future and go to the desolate zone or go explore the wider continent itself, you'll be able to see those super empires and ancient holy lands. In the hearts of those peerless divine saints and saintesses, you are just a weak cultivator. You may not believe what Grandpa is saying now, but after this trip to the Tower of Heaven, you will understand Grandpa's meaning. As he spoke, Gongsun Badian could not help but secretly glance at Yi Zan. All right, I understand. Gongsun Yao agreed on the surface, but in her heart, she did not think much of it. Hee. In the entire Nanzhou region, how many young cultivators could be compared to me in talent? Besides, even if someone's talent was extremely outstanding, it was impossible for them to be stronger than the master of the Divine Gate. In terms of talent, other than the master of the Divine Gate, Gongsun Yao had never taken a fancy to other people's talents. Once she heard about the master of the Divine Gate's deeds, Gongsun Yao had idolized him and made him the object of her lifelong pursuit. In her opinion, the leader of the Divine Gate was the strongest genius in the Nanzhou region, unmatched by anyone else. As for what Grandpa Badian said, Gongsun Yao did not take it to heart at all. Moreover, this was not the first time Grandpa Badian had given her the same advice. Whenever he met some young cultivators with outstanding talent, Grandpa Badian would always say the same thing. Therefore, in Gongsun Yao's opinion, her grandfather must have met a cultivator with good talent in the mystic realm, which was why he would compare that person with her. However, if the other party's talent was truly monstrous, how could she not have heard of that person? Throughout the entire Nanzhou region, other than the top 10 geniuses on the Nanzhou region genius rankings, she could not be bothered to pay attention to anyone else. The cultivator at the top of those rankings was now close to 50 years old. Gongsun Yao was extremely confident that she would definitely be able to surpass the strongest person on the rankings before the age of 40. Of course, if her age and cultivation level were the only thing going for her, she would not be considered an overly special existence in the Nanzhou region. However, Gongsun Yao had awakened the Empress Ice Body not too long ago. The Empress Ice Body was an extremely terrifying special constitution. It was even rarer than Yu's Sword Jade Body. Moreover, in terms of growth potential, the Empress Ice Body surpassed the Sword Jade Body. Gongsun Yao's talent had already been quite good to begin with. Once she had awakened the Empress Ice Body, her cultivation had instantly improved by leaps and bounds. Now, she was hailed as the strongest genius among the younger generation of the Nanzhou region by the various experts. Gongsun Yao was born in the Gongsun family. She was the little princess of the family, and had been consuming heavenly treasures and spiritual medicines since young. In addition, everyone in the family doted on Gongsun Yao, which resulted in her arrogant personality. Therefore, when Gongsun Yao heard that a cultivator from an ordinary empire wanted to place on the Tower of Heaven's rankings, she could not help but ridicule him. He really was a country bumpkin. Did he not know what the two lists represented? Even the Nanzhou region genius rankings paled in comparison to what it represented to be ranked on these two lists. Chapter 174. Master of the Divine Gate. A mere cultivator who had yet to make it onto the Nanzhou region genius rankings dared to aim for the Tower of Heaven's rankings. Was this not utter ignorance? Furthermore, compared to the combat power rankings, the qualification rankings requirements were even more stringent. This was because it did not evaluate the cultivator's strength, but rather their level of talent. In other words, as long as one's level of talent was monstrous enough, even if they were only Qi transformation realm cultivators, they would still be able to make it onto the list. Gongsun Yao's words caused quite a stir among many people. Those cultivators who did not know Gongsun Yao's identity revealed expressions of shock after being enlightened by the people around them. Those cultivators from the ordinary empires were shocked. It turned out that only cultivators like Gongsun Yao could be called real geniuses. Of course, some were shocked, while others did not think much of it. Most of the latter came from the Great Qian dynasty. Was Gongsun Yao's talent very monstrous? That would depend on who she was being compared to. The strongest genius of the Nanzhou region. Who gave her that title? She had only reached the 9th level of the Purple Spirit Realm at the age of 16, yet she dared to hold the title of the strongest genius. Then what about Yi Zan? Putting aside Yi Zan, even Yi Zan's disciples could crush Gongsun Yao. Although they did not know the current cultivation levels of Yi Zan's two disciples, they had definitely reached the purple spirit realm. Most importantly, Yu was only 13 years old at the moment. Did that not speak volumes of her talent? With such talent, Gongsun Yao still dared to look down on other cultivators. It was ridiculous. When the cultivators from the Great Qian dynasty saw Gongsun Yao's expression, they were unhappy. They wanted Yi Zan to show himself and slap Gongsun Yao in the face. They wanted him to show Gongsun Yao what a true genius was. After that, they would see if this girl still dared to look down on cultivators from the ordinary empires. Yi Zan did not pay much attention to what was happening around him. Instead, he calmed his mind and slowly stabilized his own cultivation foundation. Now that he was only one step away from achieving perfect control of his own strength, he naturally would not allow himself to be distracted by miscellaneous matters. I didn't expect that it would be so difficult to enter the two lists of the Tower of Heaven. That's right. Not only do we have to compete with current cultivators, we also have to compete with those peerless geniuses who have existed for tens of thousands of years, or even hundreds of thousands of years. If that's the case, wouldn't the minimum requirement to enter the combat power rankings be the true core realm? The Master of the Divine Gate, the strongest genius of our Nanzhou region in the past, actually reached the Unity realm at the age of 20. Isn't that too terrifying? While everyone was waiting for the Tower of Heaven to test the actual ages of the cultivators, they once again started discussing topics related to the Tower of Heaven. When the Master of the Divine Gate was mentioned, people could not help but be shocked. However, when the cultivators from the Great Qian dynasty heard this, they narrowed their eyes. That person had reached the Unity realm at the age of 20. It seemed that the Master of the Divine Gate was not simple. He was comparable to Yi Zan. After a little understanding, they finally discovered that the Divine Gate was the strongest force in the Nanzhou region, and that the Master of the Divine Gate was the strongest genius in the Nanzhou region 1,000 years ago. Now, he was considered the strongest cultivator in the Nanzhou region. With a single move, he could shatter space. Such a monstrous existence. Then, what is his ranking on the Tower of Heaven's lists? Master of the Divine Gate, ranked 23,121st on the combat power rankings, and 3,621st in the qualification rankings. Oh my god, is this for real? The Master of the Divine Gate is the strongest cultivator in the Nanzhou region and was the strongest genius of the Nanzhou region 1,000 years ago. Who would have thought that he would only be ranked around the 20,000th place on the combat power rankings and around the 3,000th place on the qualification rankings? Isn't this too ridiculous? Are the requirements of the Tower of Heaven's rankings so harsh? Everyone's eyes were filled with shock. As the saying goes, there is no harm without comparison. Only now did they understand the severity of the Heavenly Divine Pagoda's two lists. How can the Master of the Divine Gate's ranking be this low? Well, the rankings were taken during his first time entering the Tower of Heaven. At that time, the Master of the Divine Gate was only 20 years old, and he was a half-step Unity Realm cultivator. After he left the Tower of Heaven, he quickly reached the Unity Realm. If he had come back to the Tower of Heaven again after that, he would likely be able to obtain an outstanding ranking. Perhaps he might even have been able to enter the top 1,000 on the combat power rankings. Gongsun Yao explained. Every time the Master of the Divine Gate was mentioned, she would be extremely excited. Moreover, she was extremely familiar with all kinds of rumors about the Master of the Divine Gate. Since he was his idol, she knew almost everything about him. Back then, the ranking of the Master of the Divine Gate in the Tower of Heaven had indeed caused a stir among countless people. Moreover, after the Mystic Realm closed, he had only spent half a year to reach the Unity Realm at the age of 20, which caused an even greater sensation within the Nanzhou region. However, it was a pity that the Master of the Divine Gate never entered the Moon Demon Mystic Realm and the Tower of Heaven ever again. As for the reason behind that, only the Master of the Divine Gate knew. Such a monstrous genius is only ranked around 3,000th on the qualification rankings and around 20,000th on the combat power rankings. Then what kind of monsters are the others? Those are all true peerless prodigies, and they are all existences from tens of thousands of years ago, or even hundreds of thousands of years ago. Then, everyone's eyes involuntarily focused on the two lists. First place, Yi Tian, actual age, 22, 88 levels, Kangzhou region, Moon Demon Holy Land. Second place, Yun Tianya, actual age, 22, 88 levels, Kangzhou region, Moon Demon Holy Land. Third place, Nangong Baikong, actual age, 23, 86 levels, Chenzhou region, Yuxian Palace. 56th place. Shu Kai, actual age, 34, 79 levels, Sichuan region, Glacier Ice Empire. 23,121 th place. Jun Lintian, actual age, 20, 71st level, Nanzhou region, Divine Gate. The combat power list was filled with the various names of genius cultivators, dazzling everyone. However, they noticed that the top 50 of the combat power and qualification rankings were basically the same. However, after the top 50, these two ranking lists diverged. This was because there were many cultivators close to the age of 50 who had relied on their powerful strength to enter the combat power ranks. However, in terms of talent, they were far inferior to those young cultivators on the qualifications rankings. When everyone saw this, their eyes were filled with astonishment. When they had just entered the War God Hall, they did not know the value of these two lists. However, now, they were truly enlightened. Chapter 175. The Trials Commence. The Master of the Divine Gate was extremely powerful. It was said that he had already surpassed the Unity Realm. However, even such a monstrous existence was unable to obtain a brilliant result in the Tower of Heaven's two rankings. The cultivator who had previously spoken arrogantly immediately flushed red. His expression was filled with shame. Boom. Just as everyone was heatedly discussing amongst themselves, the Tower of Heaven shook. Following that, mysterious spatial fluctuations surged forth and landed on every cultivator. It's the age test. Finally, it's going to start. Many experienced and knowledgeable cultivators were excited. At the same time, Yi Zan also felt a strange power land on his body, seemingly examining it. The strange power then disappeared after 2 minutes. Then, a special jade token appeared in front of each cultivator. After crushing it, one could enter the Tower of Heaven to challenge the trials. Only cultivators under the age of 50 received this jade token, and each cultivator's jade token was different, containing the unique aura of its owner. This prevented cultivators over the age of 50 from using a loophole to enter the Tower of Heaven. This jade token. Yi Zan looked at the jade token in front of him and narrowed his eyes. He actually felt extremely mysterious energy fluctuations from this jade token. This actually contains spatial intent. Yi Zan's eyes immediately lit up. If he had not comprehended the heavenly lightning intent before, he really would not have noticed the weak spatial intent contained in this jade token. Spatial intent, like the heavenly lightning intent, was also one of the top 10 supreme intents. I'm becoming more and more curious. Who is it that refined this Tower of Heaven? Yi Zan took a long look at the Tower of Heaven. Anyone able to comprehend a supreme intent was definitely an expert. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. As soon as everyone received the jade tokens, many people immediately crushed them. Then, the jade tokens emitted mysterious spatial energy that wrapped around them and teleported them into the Tower of Heaven. Soon, the originally immense crowd of cultivators was reduced by more than half. At the same time, those who had yet to enter the Tower of Heaven immediately saw a huge screen of light suddenly appear in the sky. The screen of light was filled with the names of countless cultivators. This was the real-time ranking of the participating cultivators. Of course, this ranking did not correlate to the two lists. When the huge screen of light appeared, countless specks of light suddenly appeared on the Tower of Heaven. Each flashing speck of light represented a cultivator. At the beginning, all of the specks of light gathered on the first level of Tower of Heaven. Soon, many of these specks of light arrived at the second level, and then even the third level. As time slowly passed, the distance between the cultivators gradually widened. Within just a brief period of time, the frontrunners had reached the 20th level. Swoosh. At the same time, there were also many cultivators who did not pass the trials of the Tower of Heaven and were directly teleported out. Those failed cultivators' faces were pale, and the auras around their bodies had become erratic. Clearly, the trials of the Tower of Heaven were worthy of being called trials. Cultivators entered the Tower of Heaven by crushing their jade tokens. However, once inside, they would receive an additional jade token that had a life-saving function. If they could not pass the trial of the Tower of Heaven, or when they were in mortal danger, they could crush the jade token, and the Tower of Heaven would teleport them back to the War God Hall instantly. I was defeated on the first floor. 1. A second level of the Chi Transformation Realm cultivator said with a face full of shame. He originally thought that he could pass more than 10 floors or something, but he didn't expect that he couldn't even pass the simplest trial of the first floor. Moreover, if he hadn't crushed the jade token in time, he would have died in the trial of the Heavenly Divine Tower. I was defeated on the 10th floor. I did not expect the enemy on the 13th floor to be so terrifying. I could not hold on. Sigh. I thought that with my 5th level True Origin Realm strength, I would be able to clear at least 20 floors or something, but I did not expect that I would not even be able to hold on to the 14th floor. In the Tower of Babel, every 5 floors apart will increase the difficulty, and every 10 floors apart, the difficulty will be even more terrifying. 1. While everyone was discussing, Yizan was still stabilizing his cultivation foundation. Right now, the most crucial thing was to improve his control of his own strength so that he could increase his chances of passing the trials of the Tower of Heaven. Most experts made the same choice as Yizan and did not immediately enter the Tower of Heaven. Only after most of the low-level cultivators failed did some experts choose to enter the Tower of Heaven. The cultivator at the 10th level Purple Spirit Realm also crushed his Jade token at this moment. After everything that had happened just now, he had already realized the difficulty of entering the rankings. However, he still wanted to give it a try and see if he could break through to the 40th level. Due to Gongsun Yao's previous words and behavior, many people had already taken note of that cultivator. To have reached the 10th level of the Purple Spirit Realm at the age of 22, although he could not be compared to top-notch geniuses like Gongsun Yao, his talent and aptitude surpassed most cultivators. This guy's speed is so fast. He's already reached the 10th level. Good God, this guy has already reached the 17th level. This guy isn't bad. A 10th level Purple Spirit Realm cultivator is indeed someone not to be trifled with. Will this guy really reach the 40th level? Everyone exclaimed in admiration when they saw the speed at which that cultivator progressed. Not far away, Jian Tianan saw this scene and a cold smile hung on the corners of his mouth. This was only the beginning. Once one reached the 30th levee, the difficulty of the trials would undergo a qualitative change. When Gongsun Yao saw this, her eyes were also filled with disdain. How long could a weakling from an ordinary empire last? From her estimation, not much further than the 30th level. As expected, when the cultivator arrived at the 30th floor, his speed suddenly slowed down. From initially soaring through a level in a few seconds, to now taking over 10 minutes for a single floor. After about half an hour, the cultivator successfully passed the 30th floor. Time slowly passed, and the cultivator eventually reached the 35th floor. Chapter 176, Li Qingyan's Ranking. Time passed slowly and, soon enough, a full hour had passed. That cultivator had barely reached the 37th level. It seems that his speed gradually decreased after the 30th level. Could it be that the level of difficulty suddenly increased there? It's very possible. It seems that the 30th level is a watershed. When everyone saw this scene, they were shocked. Just as that cultivator broke through past the 37th level, he was also sent out by the Tower of Heaven. He clutched his chest with a pale face, and the aura around his body flickered faintly. How is this possible? I actually didn't even last 10 seconds on the 38th level. That cultivator stood motionless, his eyes filled with disbelief. On the 38th level, he had faced an illusory phantom. However, the other party had only relied on a single move to severely injure him. If he had not crushed the Jade token in time, perhaps. Hee, now do you believe what I said? Gongsun Yao revealed a disdainful smile when she saw this. The cultivator did not speak, but his eyes were filled with fear. The trials in the Tower of Heaven were all illusory phantoms condensed from pure energy, and the way they attacked was extremely mysterious. When he stepped into the 38th level, the illusory phantom he had faced was only at the 8th level of the Purple Spirit Realm, yet a single move almost killed him, who was at the 10th level of the Purple Spirit Realm. That was simply terrifying. Alright, it's time for me to go up and give it a go. At this moment, Jian Tianan was filled with confidence. This was not his first time entering the Tower of Heaven. It was just that he did not obtain any outstanding results previously. However, this time was different. He had already made sufficient preparations. He had to get on the combat power rankings. Even if it was only at the bottom of the rankings. Jian Tianan, is this guy finally going to make a move? It is said that he successfully reached the 51st level previously. I wonder if he will be able to reach the 60th level this time. I think it is very likely. After all, 4 years have passed and his strength has undergone a huge change. When they heard that Jian Tianan was going to enter the Tower of Heaven, everyone's attention was piqued. After all, this guy was ranked 5th on the Nanzhou region genius rankings, and he was a top-tier expert. Not far away, Gongsun Yao and Gongsun Wan also revealed curious expressions. They also wanted to see what kind of outstanding performance this person would display. Jian Tianan moved quickly, and soon reached the 30th level. Jian Tianan, actual age, 35, Nanzhou region, Myriad Swords Temple. At the same time, Jian Tianan's ranking on the huge screen rose quickly. Moreover, after he reached the 30th level, his speed did not decrease but instead increased. This fellow is so strong. When the previous 10th level Purple Spirit Realm cultivator saw this, he shuddered. Was this the terrifying gap between them? As someone who had just experienced the trials, he naturally knew very clearly how terrifying the difficulty level was after one reached the 30th level of the Tower of Heaven. However, that fellow Jian Tianan did not stop at all. Very quickly, he arrived at the 40th level. Shortly after, Jian Tianan broke through to the 50th level. He only paused for a moment before reaching the 51st level. This guy has already reached the 51st level. Among all the cultivators who had challenged the trials, Jian Tianan was the first to reach the 50th level. However, once he reached the 50th level, the difficulty of the Tower of Heaven's trials increased again. Jian Tianan gradually slowed down. Finally, after Jian Tianan stepped into the 57th level, the speck of light that belonged to him suddenly extinguished, and he was immediately sent out by the Tower of Heaven. Although he had reached the 57th level, because he had not successfully cleared the trial, he could only be considered to have completed the 56th level. Jian Tianan wiped off the blood dripping from the corners of his mouth, and raised his head to look at the combat power rankings. However, the rankings on the combat power rankings did not change. How could this be? When Jian Tianan saw this, his expression changed, and his eyes were filled with disbelief. He had already stepped into the 56th level, yet was still not qualified to be ranked on the combat power rankings. The last ranked person on the combat power rankings had also reached the 56th level. However, based on the judgment of the Tower of Heaven, that person was stronger than he was. Jian Tianan's heart was filled with unwillingness. He was already 35 years old, yet had failed to enter the combat power rankings. He did not have a chance to enter the qualifications rankings either, which had even more stringent requirements. Yao, let's go too. Not far away, Gongsun Yao and Gongsun Wan were surprised. They had not expected that Jian Tianan would fail to enter the combat power rankings. However, it only meant that Jian Tianan was not strong enough. After all, anyone who could enter the combat power rankings was basically a true genius. Okay, sister, Gongsun Yao said with a smile. When the two of them were about to enter the Tower of Heaven when the screen suddenly rippled. At the same time, there was a commotion. Oh my god, there's been a change in the qualifications rankings. Li Qingyan, who is Li Qingyan? She's actually on the qualifications rankings. What? Qualifications rankings? Gongsun Wan and Gongsun Yao's expressions changed when they heard this. The two rankings of the Tower of Heaven represented strength and talent respectively. Anyone who could make it onto the list was a peerless genius. Just now, the War God Hall had tested the actual ages of all of the cultivators. Among the 20 million or so cultivators who had entered the Tower of Heaven earlier, not a single one managed to make it onto a list. Even Jian Tianan, who was ranked 5th on the South Sky list, did not have the qualifications to make it onto the combat power rankings. However, at this moment, the qualifications rankings had suddenly changed. The list suddenly lit up with dazzling golden light, after which, a row of small but conspicuous words appeared. 25,462 th place, Li Qingyan, actual age, 16, 40 levels, Nanzhou region, Qingyan sect. Chapter 177, still one step behind. Rank 25,462 th on the qualifications rankings, and only 16 years old too. Isn't she a peerless genius like Gongsun Yao? But why have I never heard of this person? Anyone who can be ranked on the qualifications rankings should be quite famous. Qingyan sect. Why have I never heard of this sect in the Nanzhou region? You don't know. The Qingyan sect is one of the top 10 sects in the Great Qian dynasty. Great Qian dynasty. I've never heard of that either. What kind of empire is it? Of course you haven't heard of it. The Great Qian dynasty is only ranked among the lower middle ranks of the empires in the Nanzhou region. Naturally, since it's not a powerful empire, hardly anyone knows about it. How interesting. I didn't expect such a genius to appear in such a backward place. It is a waste of talent for such a genius to stay in the Qingyan sect. After the mystic realm closes, I will search and take Li Qingyan as my disciple. Senior's wish may not come to pass. Li Qingyan already has a teacher. Oh, so what if she has a teacher? There's no rule that cultivators can only acknowledge one person as their teacher. My strength is at the advanced stage of the Golden Core realm. Don't tell me that I'm not qualified to be her teacher. Ah, I've heard from the cultivators of the Great Qian dynasty that Li Qingyan's teacher has already reached the Unity realm and is extremely young. It seems that his name is Yi Zan. What? You said that Li Qingyan's teacher has already reached the Unity realm? Are you joking? How can there be a Unity realm expert in such a backward place? Li Qingyan's appearance on the qualifications rankings immediately caused a stir among the cultivators. Everyone was discussing Li Qingyan's background. The cultivators of the Great Qian dynasty revealed a proud expression and proudly introduced the origins of the Qingyan sect to the cultivators beside them. Every time they saw the shock in the eyes of the cultivators next to them, they felt proud. Did you not look down on small empires like ours earlier? Did you not call us a bunch of weaklings? Bet you never expected to see such a monstrous genius emerge from our ranks, huh? Hee hee. However, that was only the appetizer. The main dishes were still to come. Only when Yi Zan, that monster, ascended the Tower of Heaven would all of you understand what a true peerless monster was. Li Qingyan, Qingyan sect. At the same time, Gongsun Yao squinted her eyes as she stared at the qualifications rankings. Her goal was also to rank on this list. After all, with her current strength, she could not enter the combat power rankings at all. However, after awakening the Empress Ice body, it was still possible to enter the qualifications rankings. Moreover, ever since she awakened her special constitution, Gongsun Yao's heart had become extremely proud. She believed that no cultivator in the Nanzhou region was more talented than she was. She believed that only she was worthy of the honor of entering the qualifications rankings. However, reality had slapped her on the face. The Qingyan sect. I can't believe that such a monster could be born in an unknown place. Gongsun Yao's eyes flickered, but she memorized Li Qingyan and the Qingyan sect's names. Sister, let's go. Gongsun Yao looked at her sister. Okay. Gongsun Wan nodded, and then the two sisters crushed the jade tokens simultaneously and entered the Tower of Heaven. The Qingyan sect. After the two girls disappeared, Gongsun Badian could not help but mutter to himself, and his eyes fell on Yi Zan. When he saw that the latter was still resting with his eyes closed, he quickly withdrew his gaze and then focused on the Tower of Heaven. After the two women entered the Tower of Heaven, their speed of breaking through the levels was as fast as lightning. Within just a few minutes, the two women arrived at the 30th floor. Although the illusory phantom on the 30th floor was much stronger, Gongsun Wan's speed did not decrease in the slightest. In comparison, Gongsun Yao was much weaker. In a short while, there was a huge gap between the two women. As time slowly passed, Gongsun Wan was the first to end the trial of the Tower of Heaven. She had only reached the 51st floor. Gongsun Wan looked around and failed to find any trace of her sister. She furrowed her brow in worry. That girl has been on the 41st floor for almost half an hour. Gongsun Badian stroked his beard and said slowly. To be able to reach the 41st floor and persist for such a long time, it proved that Gongsun Yao's strength was not ordinary. However, she was still unable to defeat the illusory phantom, which meant that her strength was insufficient. Shua. Just as Gongsun Badian finished speaking, Gongsun Yao was instantly teleported out. Although she persisted for half an hour, she was still unable to defeat the opponent. As a result, she had only reached the 40th floor. Damn it. Gongsun Yao wiped the blood from the corners of her mouth. Her eyes were filled with unwillingness. Little girl, you are too competitive. Seeing this, Gongsun Badian frowned. He gently placed his palm on Gongsun Yao's body, and a warm current of energy flowed into her body. Look, the qualifications rankings have changed again. Someone has entered the list. Gongsun Yao, it's Gongsun Yao. With a flash of golden light, Gongsun Yao's name suddenly appeared in the list. Seeing this, Gongsun Yao, who had just stabilized her injuries, could not help but smile. She knew that with her strength, she would definitely be able to enter the list. But what was her ranking? She was not inferior to that Li Qingyan person, right? Immediately, Gongsun Yao's gaze focused on the list. 28,151 th place. Gongsun Yao, actual age, 16, 40 levels, Nanzhou region, Gongsun family. What? I'm only ranked 28,151 th. Gongsun Yao was completely dumbfounded. Her ranking was actually lower than Li Qingyan's. Could the Tower of Heaven have made a mistake? She was the strongest genius in the Nanzhou region. How could her rank be lower than Li Qingyan's? Was this not a joke? If someone of the same age had a level of talent that surpassed hers, then what right did she have to call herself the strongest genius in the Nanzhou region? With the help of Gongsun Badian, Gongsun Yao's injuries were healed. However, when she saw the rankings, her face instantly turned pale. How is this possible? There must be a mistake. Gongsun Yao was not willing to accept the results. How could she lose to someone of the same age? Chapter 178, Qingyan Sect. Sigh. Gongsun Badian could not help but sigh when he saw this scene. Although he did not want to see his precious granddaughter sad, this girl was too arrogant. It was not necessarily a bad wake-up call for her. I am the strongest genius of the Nanzhou region. How can there be another cultivator who is more talented than me? Moreover, she is the same age as I am. Gongsun Yao muttered to herself, her eyes filled with disbelief. Ever since she awakened the Empress Ice Body, her level of talent had skyrocketed. Unfortunately, Gongsun Yao was up against Li Qingyan. Li Qingyan had awakened the dual spirit physique, which was a rare constitution with both fire and wood attributes. She was a natural alchemist. Gongsun Yao's Empress Ice Body was indeed rare, but unfortunately, not only did Li Qingyan awaken the dual spirit physique, but with Yizan's help, her innate bone value and comprehension value had increased as well. Adding these factors together, Li Qingyan was undoubtedly better. Most importantly, with Yizan's cheat system, Gongsun Yao would never be able to catch up to Li Qingyan in her lifetime. Qingyan Sect, what kind of faction is this? Gongsun Yao's face was full of unwillingness. The Qingyan sect's origin is very simple. It is from a backward place that you looked down on previously. It is from an empire that is ranked within the lower half of the empires in the Nanzhou region. The Qingyan sect is one of the top-ranked sects of the Great Qian dynasty, Gongsun Badian said slowly. Hearing this, Gongsun Yao immediately fell silent and went blank. Look, the qualifications rankings have changed again. What's going on today? Why is the list getting updated so often? Is it so easy to get on the qualifications rankings? So far, this is the third person on the list, right? At this moment, the crowd was in a heated discussion once again. Gongsun Yao, who was lost in thought, suddenly woke up and looked up at the list. Gongsun Badian and Gongsun Wan's expressions changed as well. They then raised their heads to look. The dazzling golden light that had accompanied Gongsun Yao's ranking had yet to dissipate when an even more dazzling light suddenly flashed. Following that, another name appeared on the qualifications rankings. 4622 th place. You, actual age, 13, 37 levels, Nanzhou region, Qingyan sect. Boom. When the crowd saw the ranking on the list, they were stunned as if they had been struck by lightning. There's someone who actually ranked 4622nd, and she's only 13 years old. Isn't this too unbelievable? Brothers, you missed the main point. This Yu person is also from the Qingyan sect. Just what kind of sacred place is this Qingyan sect? How can there be so many monstrous geniuses? Everyone's eyes were filled with disbelief. Gongsun Yao had reached the 9th level of the purple spirit realm at the age of 16, and she had even awakened the Empress Ice Body. Even so, her ranking was only around 20,000th. However, the two cultivators who had appeared out of nowhere from the Qingyan sect were ranked above Gongsun Yao on the list. Did everyone not say that Gongsun Yao was the strongest genius in the Nanzhou region? How could she be surpassed by other cultivators? Moreover, both those cultivators belong to the same sect. The Qingyan sect. These three words were deeply engraved in the minds of all the cultivators. How is this possible? This is absolutely impossible. When Gongsun Yao saw this, her eyes widened in disbelief. She had already found it hard to accept being surpassed by Li Qingyan. Now, Yu's 4,000th place ranking had dealt a heavy blow to her. She could accept it if these two people were the descendants of a super empire or an ancient holy land. However, these two people were both from the Great Qian dynasty and belonged to the Qingyan sect, both of which she had never heard of. What the hell was going on? How could there be such monstrous geniuses in the Nanzhou region? Why had she not heard of them before? In fact, she was not the only clueless one. Who are they? Who are they? Gongsun Yao looked at the crowd in a daze, trying to find traces of Li Qingyan Li and Yu amidst the crowd. However, this white space was filled with densely packed cultivators. How could she find Li Qingyan and Yu? Her ranking is pretty good. Yizan looked at his disciple's ranking and could not help but smile. When Yu's name appeared on the list just now, he had already ended his cultivation, and his control of his power had once again recovered to 100%. The appraisal of a cultivator's aptitude by the Tower of Heaven was different from the system's appraisal. In general, the system's appraisal of a cultivator was a little more detailed, and it could indicate the cultivator's innate bone value and comprehension value in numerical figures. As for the appraisal of a cultivator's aptitude by the Tower of Heaven, it was calculated based on their performance in the Tower of Heaven's trials. In short, if the cultivators had reached the same cultivation level, the younger one would definitely be regarded as the more talented one. In Yizan's view, this appraisal algorithm was fairly low level, far inferior to the system. At least in terms of the system's calculations, whether it was comprehension value or cultivation talent, Li Qingyan was undoubtedly stronger. However, based on the Tower of Heaven's calculations, as Yu was 3 years younger, her ranking on the list was far higher than Li Qingyan's. This appraisal method was indeed too lacking. If that little girl, Zhao Yuyan, enters the tower, although she will likely only reach the 10th level, because of her age and strength, she will definitely be ranked very high on the list. Zhao Yuyan was only 7 years old, but she had already awakened the demon devourer body. Moreover, her cultivation had reached the 10th level of the Qi transformation realm. Even if she could not pass the 10th level, the Tower of Heaven would definitely rank her highly. It's my turn now. It's said that if I can reach the top of the Tower of Heaven, it's possible that I'll obtain the inheritance left behind by that ancient expert. I wonder how strong that ancient expert is. Forget it. Let's not think about this for now. I just hope that I'll obtain a method to temper my spiritual sense from all of this. Yizan looked at the Tower of Heaven. What he needed the most now was a method to temper his spiritual sense, which he hoped that he would get from the Tower of Heaven. Therefore, regardless of whether the inheritance left behind by the ancient powerhouse had such a method or not, he had to give it a go. Chapter 179. Yizan's name. I hope that the Tower of Heaven will not disappoint me. Yizan took a deep breath and crushed the jade token in his hand, after which his figure suddenly disappeared. Gongsun Badian, who had been observing Yizan, saw this and narrowed his eyes. That guy had finally made his move. Good. I'd like to see how much stronger you are compared to the master of the Divine Gate. Yizan has entered the tower. That's right. I've already seen his name on the real-time rankings. Ha ha ha. After waiting for so long, this guy finally showed up. I was worried that he wasn't interested in the Tower of Heaven. He finally showed up after all that waiting. I wonder if this guy can be compared to the master of the Divine Gate. What's that? You should be curious about how much stronger this guy is compared to the master of the Divine Gate. The cultivators of the Great Qian dynasty immediately began their enthusiastic discussions, ignoring the gazes of the cultivators around them. After the incident with Li Qingyan and Yu, how could they dare to look down on the cultivators of the Great Qian dynasty? Strictly speaking, it was the cultivators of the Qingyan sect that they did not dare to look down upon. Although the cultivators from the Great Qian dynasty were very mediocre, the Qingyan sect was different. At least 2 of their peerless geniuses had appeared on the qualifications rankings. Hello, brothers. Seeing how excited you guys are, could it be that this cultivator named Yizan is very powerful? The word, powerful, is not enough to describe this guy. He is definitely an invincible existence. The cultivators from the Great Qian dynasty were in high spirits. Could it be that Yizan is also from the Qingyan sect? Why don't you take a look for yourself? The cultivators from the Great Qian dynasty pointed at the screen of light in the sky and said. Hearing this, everyone hurriedly looked up. A bright golden light suddenly appeared on the screen of light in the sky. It displayed Yizan's name, which was rising rapidly. He surpassed everyone in an instant and his name arrived at the top of the screen of light. The 30th level, pass. The 35th level, pass. The 40th level, pass. The 50th level, pass. Each level was passed in an instant. When everyone saw this scene, they could not help but stare with their eyes wide open. Their eyes were filled with shock, and they were completely dumbfounded. The Tower of Heaven had been open for so long, but they had never seen any cultivator climb the tower at such a terrifying speed. It was as fast as lightning. It was as if the qualitative changes in difficulty at the various levels did not exist at all. Most importantly, behind Yizan's name, everyone saw a line of text that made them go crazy. Nanzhou region, Qingyan sect. The Qingyan sect, why was it the Qingyan sect again? Just what kind of magical sect was this? Everyone's gaze fell on the Tower of Heaven and the screen of light. Their eyes were filled with shock and doubt. This guy passed the trials at a shocking speed. My God, this guy has already reached the 57th floor. He's on the combat power rankings. When Yi Zan reached the 57th floor, everyone immediately shouted excitedly. At the same time, everyone's eyes were fixed on the combat power list. The 57th level was ranked over 90,000th on the combat power rankings. A bright golden light suddenly flashed, and then Yi Zan's information appeared. 99,874th place. Yi Zan, actual age, 20, 57 levels, Nanzhou region, Qingyan sect. After this message appeared, Yi Zan's ranking rose quickly, and the dazzling golden light did not cease to flash. Seeing this, Jian Tianan could not help but stare in shock. How is this possible? That guy had also passed the 57th level in an instant. He had been defeated by the illusory phantom on the 57th level in one strike, so he was very clear about the terrifying strength of that opponent. If he had not crushed the jade token in time, he might have died on the spot. However, this guy had simply breezed past. What kind of terrifying strength did this person have? What was even more unbelievable was that he was only 20 years old. Jian Tianan was completely dumbfounded. His cultivation had reached the middle stage of the true core realm, he was ranked 5th on the Nanzhou region genius rankings, and he had also awakened a special sword Dao constitution. Although he was already 35 years old, he was still considered a member of the younger generation, and an absolute genius. As long as nothing unexpected happened, supported by the powerful resources of the Myriad Swords Temple, he would definitely be able to step into the Unity realm and become an absolute expert in the Nanzhou region. It could be said that Jian Tianan's future was bright. Moreover, every time the sect elders mentioned him, their words were full of praise. Jian Tianan was also extremely confident in his own strength and cultivation talent. Throughout the entire Nanzhou region, the number of people who could surpass him were few and far between. The number 1 on the Nanzhou region genius rankings had already reached the early stage of the Golden Core realm. Although his strength was stronger than Jian Tianan's, he was already more than 40 years old. During the last round of the Mystic Realm opening, that guy had also challenged the Tower of Heaven. The other party was ranked over 90,000th on the combat power list, which caused a sensation among countless people. However, Jian Tianan was not the slightest bit worried. He firmly believed that he could definitely surpass that guy. After all, he was only 35 years old now. Armed with his sword Dao constitution, he had no need to fear at all. Moreover, in this mystic realm, he also had quite a bit of luck. There was a certain chance for his physique to step into the major success stage. Once that happened, his innate bone value would increase greatly. At that time, even if he was faced with Gongsun Yao's Empress Ice body, he would still be able to fight her on even terms. Therefore, in Jian Tianan's eyes, in less than 2 to 3 years, he would become the strongest expert among the younger generation of the Nanzhou region. Reality was cruel though. A cultivator who was only 20 years old, a young man who was 15 years younger than him, easily defeated an enemy who could kill him with a single strike. He was completely dumbfounded. However, he was not the only one. Almost everyone was dumbfounded. Gongsun Wan and Gongsun Yao were especially dazed as they looked at the screen of light in the sky. Chapter 180. Terrifying Speed. Thanks to the existence of Li Qingyan and Yu, the name, Qingyan sect, had already given everyone a huge shock. Now, when they saw Yi Zan's terrifying speed of ascent, their hearts could not help but beat wildly, and their eyes were filled with shock. Not to mention that Yi Zan was only 20 years old. How was this possible? Has there been a mistake in the Tower of Heaven? This is absolutely impossible. Gongsun Yao stared at Yi Zan's name, feeling a sense of urgency in her heart. She really wanted to see who this cultivator was, and whether he had 3 heads and 6 arms. 1. Otherwise, how could this guy rank on the combat power list as a 20-year-old? Furthermore, his young age guaranteed him a spot on the qualifications rankings which, unlike the combat power list, was not updated in real time. Qingyan sect, Yi Zan. The name, Yi Zan, replayed itself countless times in her mind. This guy can't possibly maintain this speed all the way up, right? At most, he can only keep this up until the 60th level. He will definitely slow down. Yes, it must be like this. Gongsun Yao kept comforting herself, trying to find some evidence that Yi Zan was not so terrifying. However, reality would prove her wrong quickly. 60th level. And it's still so fast. Just how terrifying is this guy's strength? Isn't this too abnormal? Everyone saw Yi Zan passing the 60th level in the blink of an eye and exclaimed in shock. Gongsun Yao's eyes were wide open, and her body was trembling. How could this be possible? Did they not say that the illusory phantom on the 60th level was very terrifying? What exactly was this guy's limit? Even a golden core realm expert could not pass that level in an instant, right? Right. Moreover, there were many early stage golden core realm cultivators who were stuck at the 60th level. In that case, was Yi Zan at the middle stage of the golden core realm? Perhaps the advanced stage of the golden core realm? Gongsun Yao did not know. She only wanted to try her best to suppress the waves in her heart caused by this matter. She had awakened the Empress Ice body, but she could not guarantee that she would be able to break through to the golden core realm at the age of 20. Throughout the entire Nanzhou region, there were only a handful of peerless geniuses who could break through to the core formation realm at the age of 20. Only the master of the Divine Gate had broken through to the Unity realm at the age of 20. Did this mean that Yi Zan could stand shoulder to shoulder with the master of the Divine Gate? Impossible. Gongsun Yao quickly denied this thought. The master of the Divine Gate was her idol, whom she admired the most. She regarded him as the object of her lifetime pursuit. Although Yi Zan was very strong, and the talent he displayed was also very abnormal, it was absolutely impossible for him to have reached the Unity realm at the age of 20. It was absolutely impossible. Of course, this kind of thinking was not only shared by Gongsun Yao. Beside her, Jian Tianan and those top-notch experts from the Nanzhou region genius rankings also did not think that Yi Zan could be compared to the master of the Divine Gate. They could not deny Yi Zan's strength, but it was unrealistic to expect him to emulate the master of the Divine Gate. Among the people present, only the Unity Realm experts who had witnessed Yi Zan's terrifying strength at the Heavenly Lightning Pool were aware of how terrifying Yi Zan was. This guy was likely not only on par with the master of the Divine Gate, but also far surpassed him, okay. Even Li Tianyu, a Unity Realm expert of the Blood Moon Temple, was instantly killed by him. Moreover, no one could sense Yi Zan's actual cultivation level, but they all knew that he had at least reached the second level of the Unity Realm. However, they could not say anything about whether Yi Zan could challenge the peerless genius who held first place on the combat power list. First place, Yi Tian. He was only 22 years old and had reached the 88th level of the Tower of Heaven. Since the appearance of the Moon Demon Mystic Realm, this guy had occupied the first place on the combat power list and had never been dethroned. No one knew how strong Yi Tian was when he challenged the Tower of Heaven. The 65th level of the Tower of Heaven. In front of Yi Zan was a gray space filled with chaotic qi. From that space, two figures slowly walked out. One of them had blurry facial features, while the other was an illusory phantom condensed from extremely pure energy. These were the opponents that Yi Zan had to challenge. As long as he could defeat these two, he would advance to the next floor. The figure with blurry facial features was condensed from the most powerful cultivator who had challenged this level in the past. In other words, the Tower of Heaven perfectly copied that cultivator's strength. Before the 60th level, the challenger only had one opponent, which was the illusory phantom condensed by the Tower of Heaven. However, after the 60th level, there was one more opponent, and that was the illusory phantom of the strongest cultivator of this level. Boom! Yi Zan hurled a simple punch. The terrifying power of his punch instantly engulfed the two illusory phantoms. From the beginning till now, he had only been using this same, simple punch. He did not need to use his sword for this at all. Moreover, Yi Zan had 100% control over his own strength. In addition, he had reached the first level of fist intent, which further strengthened his punches. It seems that I have to be faster. Thinking of the inheritance up above, Yi Zan immediately sped up. FCK. This guy can even go faster. That's nuts. Seeing this scene, everyone felt like swearing. So it seems that Yi Zan was just playing around just now and is only starting to get serious now. The War God Hall was filled with exclamations when they realized that Yi Zan had not used his full strength at all before this. Holy SHT. All before this. Holy SHT.